I came from a small town. It's not even a town, it's a village called Santebenur. And I never experienced the horrors of the feudalism that people describe. I never experienced that. I never experienced the caste discrimination that people, this thing. The only thing about the caste discrimination is that we lived in the Lingayat street, and whenever we cooked non-veg, we used to say we cooked badnekai, brinjal we cooked. That's the only thing. Like eating meat was, problematic in the place where we lived, in the village. I personally have never experienced the caste discrimination till I came to Bangalore. It is only in Bangalore I experienced the caste discrimination, particularly with a person called T.G. Vaidyanathan. Only when I reached a level of intellectual, standing, and I finally could understand and confront what caste is about. Till I met T.G. Vaidyanathan, I never knew my caste. T.G. Vaidyanathan is my guru. He taught me how to look at cinema, how to understand cinema, how to look at the small details, how to construct, how to deconstruct. All that he taught me. That he, at the end, towards the end of his death, I wrote a long letter after I met him with me, Kumar and TGV met together. And that was the night, like it was a horrible night for me, because it all came in such forceful expression of what caste is about. And Kumar and me were not like that. But he, taking Kumar into his lap, put me aside. So I wrote a long letter to him. In that long letter, I told that I don't belong to your Agrahara. But I do have my dreams and I do have my potentialities. And I will work on that. I wrote in my hand, like, in a nice stationery. And then he wrote me back on a small card that your handwriting is beautiful. Don't, just concentrate on your fingers. Don't exercise your mind. So I was in my small town, and so we founded a small group together. People who are interested in literature, arts, and politics. It was a very small group, and in a small town of Chitradurga, Davangere, Santebenur, and different places. We used to come together once in a month. And we were subscribers to a lot of small journals that used to come. There were a profusion of small journals just before emergency and during the emergency and after emergency. So we were the consumers of these small journals. And that was a process in which, like, I think I got politicized. I arrived at a point where, what to look for, what to read, how to understand what you read, and things like that. And search for, meaning in everything that you experience, in your everyday sense or in your thought, this thing. So for the first time, I read a lot of literature which was not accessible to me before. Like Alanali Krishna, like Purnachandra Tejasvi, like Anantmurti, like Devanur Mahadeva. So I came across, before that I only read Shivaram Karanta and Coimpo. These people gave me a different perspective in which to understand what life is about, what self is about, and what you look for, how to aspire, dream of something, of a self. This all came from kind of literary influences that I had when I joined this small group of people in the small village. Then one day we decided that we should bring our own journal. We should talk about what we feel about all this. Because we also had a lot of, there was already a debate about Marxism, Ambedkarism, Gandhianism, and Lohiite. There was a whole range of debates that were happening. Who is Gandhi? Who is Lohia? Who is Ambedkar? Whole this thing, and people were divided along those lines. I'm an Ambedkarite, I'm a Gandhian, I'm a Lohiite. I mean, so much so that you had Samajwadi Yujan Sabha, which was inspired by Lohiya. There was Gandhi Sarvodaya Sangha, H.S. Doraiswamy and all those people, who were Gandhiites. There was a whole Dalit Sanghar Samiti, which was inspired by, Gandhi. Within that, you had people who were inspired by Marx. There was a whole range of people, who express themselves in various ways. And some of that made sense to me. And I tried to find my own food. So with this group, we started bringing this small journal. We brought it for the next 2 years. And I was designing and composing and writing and all that thing based in Bangalore. It was printed in Bangalore, but edited, and all the decisions were taken from Chitradurga. So we were able to bring in a fresh voice from dominant voices of, say, for Marxists there was Prasanna, for Dalits there was Krishnappa, for liberals there was Anantmurti. This was a small band of people. We were able to bring a journal for next 2 years and make our, who we were and what we were aspiring for, without denigrating anybody. We stood out. And in that process that I met Narahari Rao. And that was a point in my life, I was, whatever I wrote for the journal in the previous 2 years sounded hollow to me. Because I thought that I am not understanding this world properly. I need to read. I need to understand. And the major thing that was on my head was how do you understand Capital of Karl Marx? And I came from a, Kannada, this thing. I wanted somebody to read Capital to me and explain that to me, so that I can understand it, so that I can understand what is Communist Manifesto is about, what is to be done of Lenin is about. I was searching for somebody like that, and then I found somebody in one of the seminars that I presided, and somebody was presenting a paper on education during the British period in Kolar. That was Narahari Rao, who was teaching in Bangalore University in the Department of Philosophy at that time. He was also part of CIEDS. So I asked him, will you, translate Capital to me? So he said, fine, come, I will do that to you. So I and another friend of mine called Setu Madhav, two of us, we were living in Basavangudi at that time. And we used to walk all the way, waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning, reaching Narayana house at 7 o'clock. And he will translate capital for us from 7 to 9 and cook breakfast for us. And we will eat breakfast and then we will talk all gossips and whole lot of things like, who is what and things like that in literature, in politics and things like that. It went on for about 8 months. At the end of it, I was a signboard painter. I used to earn my living as a signboard painter. And when we started the journal, I stopped doing the signboard painting. By the time I had saved some money so that I could live on. That money was coming to an end. And I didn't know where I was going. And I wanted a job. So I started applying for jobs. So I got 2 jobs simultaneously. One as a telephone operator in the telephones and as a clerk in State Bank of Mysore. I appeared for both the interviews and I passed that thing. And I told Narayana, I decided to take the bank job. Told I am taking this bank job and I am going out of Bangalore to Tavarekere where I was posted. So he said, you want a job? I'll give you a job. How much salary you want? So I said, that doesn't matter. I want a job. I want this thing. So he took me to CIEDS. And CIEDS was a revelation to me. So, first their library, their posters, and the people. So I said, why do I have to take the bank job? So I'll be happy here. So I asked him, what should I do here? Well, nothing much, you just cut newspapers and file them. And you will get 500 rupees, which is everybody was taking. So I said, 500 rupees is fine with me. So I joined CIEDS in 1979. At that time in CIEDS, there was a long process for anybody who is to join CIEDS. That anybody who wants to come in has to meet everybody individually and everybody collectively. And then they have to discuss and they have to decide. It was a long process. It took almost 3 months. So I went through the whole thing and so this fellow said, cut newspapers. So in the discussions that happened in CIEDS and in the process of my being employed in CIEDS, they said it doesn't necessarily mean that you join for a job. You can decide what you want to do. So I was very happy. So I said I want to paint posters for political meetings. So they said that's fine. And there was somebody called Alex, who was a member of the collective. He said, you are doing this journal. Why don't you do this journal and we'll publish it. I said, I won't do that. There was a different ball game altogether. But I will be very happy if I can paint posters for the political meetings. At that point, in 1979 March, CIEDS was unsure of itself. It didn't know where it was going because there was a whole group of Trotskyites and there was a group of Marxists and there was a group of people who were just doing work in slums, in villages and things like that. So there was a big crisis. finally it went to an extent, like this is when I was joining in, just 1 week after I was joining in, like CIEDS will be closed down because there is a big crisis in CIEDS. It didn't happen. What happened was like finally all the Trotskytes walked out of CIEDS, and it was rid of the kind of machinations were happening at the time in CIEDS to steer CIEDS in a certain direction. So Corinne stood against that and said like, no, this is a group of people like who want to do things. Let them do what they want to do.
So it was
Balu, Narahari Rao, Jairas Banaji, Radha Kumar, Narahari Rao, Rajan Chandy, Ammu Abraham, whole range of people who are all major players in the what is called the periphery of the radical politics. A whole range of people. It encompassed all over India. And we were in conflict with CPM. CPM, actually rather the other way around, CPM found us as the CIA agents. Well, a long history, and it is something that is not known to many people.
So tell me about Kumar's entry, Kumar Madhu.
So I joined, I flourished in CIEDS, I did a lot of things. It gave a space in which I could do whatever I want and be happy about it. And it flourished like that, and in '83, these three people came almost on the same day. CIEDS was a madhouse. CIEDS was a madhouse. I call it, it's like many people came and boarded a boat which went nowhere. And everybody was in the same boat. One thing that characterized all the people who came into CIEDS at that time, which also tells about the way in which the so-called funded organizations operated, was like these are people who are on the fringes, and they were talking about alternatives, which Kumar always used to laugh at and saying, leave the natives, don't alter them. But there was a search for alternatives. There was a language, there was a rhetoric, there was an anger, there was a dream in which people look to something that different from what existed right in front of their eyes. And it was easy in late 70s, early 70s, late 70s and early 80s and up till the 90s, before the Asiad happened. So what was unique about this period and the people who came in this period was that there was a tremendous and a very intense feeling that they could change the world. And they had a language, they had ideas, they had dreams. And they also had a certain moral authority with which they functioned. Right from 1972, the major railway strike, to emergency, everything else, there was a certain sense of purposefulness which you don't find today. Purposefulness was for community. You belonged to a community, you lived with it, and you dreamed of a community, which is different from what you were born with. And dream was possible at the time. Dreaming was possible. And he was celebrating it. He was celebrating it. That a change is possible. That you are on a track. That you can change the world. And then the world also at the ground level was divided onto the parties, funded organizations, and intellectuals and artists and whole range of things. In the whole gamut of it, there was a in which people celebrated that change is possible. The whole range of them, even though they fought among themselves, even though they pulled each other's legs. The optimism of changing the world was very, very evident in the late 70s and early 80s.